What's up, everyone, and welcome back to The Flip Side, a gyto podcast where we break down, share, and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. This episode is part 2 of a 2-part episode and a continuation of last week's conversation. So if you didn't tune in last week, be sure to check out part 1 before listening. But without further ado, we're diving in and picking up right where we left off with part 2.
We could talk about this all day without a solution because it's just the world we live in. Yeah. I mean, so much of it is just, but to me, I'm like, okay, honestly, there's 2 sides of this equation. There's the parent side and the teacher side. And really, that is all that matters when it comes to that classroom. And so really, it's about, again, parents checking themselves and saying, okay, am I assuming the best of this teacher? Mm-hmm. Or can I have an open, honest conversation with them? But looking at, again, education, that's what they're there to do as the professional. That's what I'm going to judge, not their personal life. Now, then the same thing is true as the teacher is assuming the best of the parents as well. Like, you can't go on and snooping on their Instagram and Facebook and be like, oh, no wonder their kids are like this. No wonder their kids. And I mean, I get that side of it, but can we shift to, because this is where I get a little bit heated. Okay. As teachers, we can't always control, and I know some people are gonna be like, well, that's a double standard. We can't always control, what society says about us and what society says about our personal opinions. And that's just making choices in this world. Because regardless of what choice you make, it's going to be scrutinized by somebody somewhere sometime. That's just part of it. But where I start to see teachers, I don't want to say failing kids or failing this profession, but maybe that is what I want to say, is where this is me talking from a parent's perspective. That teacher that I follow on social media, because I'm like, oh, that's my kid's teacher. I want to see what they're doing in class, is all of a sudden on social media, and all they're ever doing is speaking negatively. Yes. All they're ever doing is talking negatively about education, how bad it is, how bad the kids are, how bad parents are, how much they wish parents were different, how this is such a different time period in education. Yep. Now, as a mom, I'm not sending Maverick King to that class. Right. Because if that's what they're saying, on how then are they responding in the 4 walls? So I think that's where the standard kind of, as a professional, have your personal life. Right. But when you're talking about the education profession, I think you have to operate as a professional, because what parents are getting from your social media is going to directly impact the judgments that they're making then on your professional ability to educate.
It impacts the product. Like, it would be like a waiter at a restaurant, and instead of selling them the special or this, they're going up to the table and they're saying, oh my gosh, this is disgusting. I saw a cockroach in the kitchen and blah, blah. You're now impacting the product that is actually involved in your work. And I think that's a very different scenario. So I'm glad you brought that up, of now it's actually impacting what's happening. While you were talking, I was thinking, I remember one time all the different stakeholders, right? I was a student teacher. It was my senior internship. My friend Kim was also a student teacher. We were friends, but we were very professional friends as student teachers, right? Then we went out one time, me and my friend group, her and her friend group. We didn't know each other were there. We're downtown. We're in college, right? In some corner somewhere, it's me and her, eye locking in there. So now we're seniors in college, okay? Right. Normal. We look to our left. There's a group of teachers from our school that we're interning at. They are deer in headlights because they saw us, the student teachers that were there. Across the street is a group of parents from our school. And now we're all at different corners of downtown Orlando. Like, how did we all end up here? What is happening? And no one's spoken to them ever again, because they're like, what is happening? Personal life versus professional life, right? Like, we're all adults. We're all over 21. We're all doing these things. Like, they were like, no one was like, oh my gosh, they're the worst intern ever, all these things. Right. It's the respect of the different stakeholders there of what that looks like and how that transpires there. But when it impacts the actual students, classroom, school, it's a completely different scenario that I think does need to be called out more often.
I agree. And I think, the reality is the use of social media to vent, to share your opinions. That's what people use it for. I think if we as educators want to be respected and treated as professionals, the onus is on us to also make sure that we're acting as professionals. Yes. And if we need an outlet to say, I'm going to lose my mind if my admin does this, if a parent does it, then maybe you create a private account that is shared only with the people that maybe
that could give you advice.
Give you advice. And it's not something you are putting out there
for likes or for people's sympathy.
Yeah. And we talk about that. People are putting things out there just for the likes.
I mean,
really, because people are liking the negative
Correct.
things.
You're really posting it for, oh my gosh, yes, you're so right. What is that doing
Yes.
for kids and schools? No.
Well, and that's like when we post things,
Tell us how you really feel.
That is how it really feels.
things on TikTok or Instagram where it's clearly someone, causing a commotion in a store or in a restaurant just for clicks,
Yes.
just for likes, just for acknowledgement. What good is that doing, right?
Annoying.
So that same scenario plays out with educators and professionals all the time of I'm just venting just for the sake of venting. And again, if we want to be treated and respected as professionals, then our behavior needs to match that. Not saying it's not okay to have those days. We have all had those days. We've all had bad years sometimes where we're just like, wow, nothing is going right. There's a place to do it.
We're not saying the feelings aren't valid.
Right. 100% on.
Absolutely are valid.
Not saying
Actually, the opposite.
Yeah.
right. And not saying that you can't talk about it. You can. But the reality is, am I going to do that in front of my students? That's how I always judge anything that I put out on social media. Is it something I would do in front of my students or in front of my parents?
And didn't you say yes to that? And it's like the negative talk or the oh my gosh, this is how bad it is. This is what's happening. If you are doing them for your students, what actual impact is that having on that?
Well, you
That's
can't
what
say,
say next.
well, I personally, because here's in the next art, well, teachers don't get paid enough. So I personally chose to be an influencer in education and be able to have a side hustle. So on my personal educational influencer account, I can say what you want. No, you can't.
Right.
Because you represent the profession.
Correct.
You're still, and parents can still find that.
100%.
And they are going to judge you. I am going to judge you if you're Maverick King's teacher and you're talking about how awful this profession is all the time. I'm taking.
I do judge you. Is he really? Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go to this then. But I'm advocating. But I'm advocating for better pay. I'm advocating for better respect. I'm advocating for better treatment. I'm advocating for better parent connection and support. So I've got to say these things to draw awareness to them because I'm advocating.
How's that going for you? That's my question to that.
I think of something my mom, rest her soul, always used to say, you get more bees with honey. You are going to turn a lot of people off. And yet you're going to get people that hear you griping and going off. And you're going to get those people that are going to fuel your fire. But the reality is, how many people in the process are you going to turn off to what you're saying?
Correct.
Yes.
They're going to go numb to that. All they're going to hear is the ranting and the raving. And I just go, is there not a better way?
Yeah.
Because again, think of the student in your class that is struggling. If they start throwing things and losing control, you can't help them in that moment. You've got to de-escalate them. You're not you have to think about, what message am I sending out there truly with what I'm saying and how I'm saying.
And it always makes me think, when people are doing like all those things, who do you want following you in your circle?
This is what I was going to
Like, who do you want on
On
your
with
team,
you.
on your side? If I'm in a kickball game and I'm like, I'm going to choose you on my team, you on my team, who are the people you're choosing? It's like Dancing with the Stars when they do the team dances. Like, I'm like, why would you choose that person? They have the lowest score.
Right.
Like, why would you do that? And it's like, they're intentionally choosing the people that are just going to side on their side to be like, I don't want those people around me. I don't even want that in my ear or in feeding me, because I want to progress in the profession. Like, I want to change the narrative of that.
Right. Because if you're influencing, you want to change.
Right, correct.
Which means if you're just attracting all the people who agree with you, you're not actually changing anything.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if you want to change anything in education, you've got to attract the people who don't think like you and have them change their perspective on a certain issue, on a certain topic, on a certain practice, on a certain strategy. That's the only way you're eliciting change. If you're just doing something and you're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of likes, that's just everybody agreeing with you.
Yeah.
You're just attracting, like, it's the misery loves company mentality.
Yes.
You're just And
I have a perfect example of
impacting
this.
education.
On social media, plenty of times I've seen data is not important. This data meeting is not important. Standardized testing is not important. And all these teachers, yes, preach, great. No. That is, if we want to change this,
Very much a
that is priority.
Right.
That is going to change it. Now,
That's how-
are there things we can fix and change?
Do we agree with how standardized testing is set up?
Absolutely
not. Yeah.
But to create that narrative and people saying, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Think about new teachers coming in. They're like, yeah, it is not important. How are you moving kids without looking at data? Now, I really would challenge you.
This whole thing is, what does society say about teachers, basically, right?
Yeah.
And if society values, for some reason, if they value test scores and all those
Everybody
things,
values results. They want to see
exactly.
the
And
black
so
and white.
that's what. And so for someone to say, no, it's horrible data, that makes no sense.
Yeah, and
because
yet we see the
trying to take that perspective.
It's saying, teachers don't want to be held accountable
And
because what are they
and also
doing?
the people saying that, when you see it, what results do you have?
They don't have
in the
them.
classroom, because I have no problem.
That's
with
just
that.
their
I've had
excuse.
Success,
Yes.
and we've done it. If you go to a restaurant, there's a grade on the restaurant.
Yes.
If I go to New York City and I go home and I'm going down, I'm not going to a restaurant that has a D in the window.
No.
Or B.
I'm not.
Or B. I ain't going to no
Or
B.
B.
I'm an
I'm
restaurant kind of gal.
And then schools, we're like, oh my gosh, we're grading schools, we're grading kids.
Yeah.
With the best results is where we want to put our
Right.
time and energy into. So we can't hold that as a, oh my gosh, look at teachers, poor teachers, all this. No, we need to raise the bar and
Right.
keep that accountability going.
I think what gets lost so many times when people do post, again, on social media, because that's where the bulk of it we see it, I think they know their immediate message, and I don't think they're thinking into the future of how is my immediate message going to impact what this person thinks of me, what someone else says about what I said. It's just the right here, right now. I want.
And is it going to be worth it in the future?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you starting to fight the right fight? Are you starting the right, are you setting the right thing in motion? And I think that gets lost a lot of times for the, yes, I agree. Yes, you're right. Even though Chris is crying when you say that about data, I don't think they're thinking beyond that.
Yeah. So what would your message be to society about the expectations of teachers? And I think we have agreed here. I think we've classified it as there's a personal side to the teacher and there's a professional side to the teacher. What would your message be to society just about, I don't know if it's, because again, I would love to say, how do we change it? But we're not changing humanity, at this, where we are in this world, where we are in this nation. But maybe shift from society, because let's just let that go. Who cares? Parents, maybe parents who are listening, teachers, so that's our audience here.
Yep.
What can parents and teachers do to uphold high expectations? Because I don't think anybody has a problem with high expectations. Parents want kids to be educated well. Teachers want to educate well. It's not the high expectations. But what can we do as an educational community, parents and teachers, to really create the most realistic expectations of both in the classroom?
Well, I think it falls on both sides, taking on different responsibilities. I think on the teacher side, I think sometimes it just take a pause before you press post.
Yeah.
Take a pause before you press send. Sometimes
even on parent emails, right?
Yes, that's what that's what I meant. Just take a breath. Sometimes it's
Tone.
take a tone, step away.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about immediate emergencies. I'm talking about whether it's a parent email that maybe the tone you perceived.
Big feelings.
Yes, big feelings. The tone you perceived. Take a step back. Maybe without revealing too many details, go to a colleague and say, hey, I've got this issue. I've done that. Not revealing personal details, but just saying, help me out. This is how I want to respond. What are your thoughts on how that might be perceived? So on the teacher side of it, I think it's stopping for a moment and remembering that, to just take a pause. And also be mindful of, maybe this is not the right platform for me to share what I feel. Maybe this is more for my personal account. And for parents and families, I think it's recognizing that your child's teacher is a human.
Yeah.
Just like we always say, students come in and we don't know what they've got going on in their outside of school life.
Yeah.
Teachers are the same way. You don't know that teacher that's struggling with their mental health, that is worrying about how they're going to pay their bills, that just lost a loved one, or maybe just had a really cruddy morning. We don't, we want to give that same understanding and acknowledgement to our students. And I think parents and families, and so many do, and I've been very lucky that most, if not all, of my parents have always done that. But we have to do that for the teacher themselves.
Yeah.
And again, which we've discussed, several times, is it negatively impacting your child's education?
Yeah.
And I will also add this. I think we need to stop this immediate need to go to the top. I'm not even going to talk to my teacher, my student's teacher. I'm going right to the principal, the superintendent. I'm going,
exactly.
Whoa, take it. That's like if as a teacher, I go, you know what? I'm not even going to address this with the kid.
Yeah.
Just principal, suspend them.
Or even go, skip the principal. I hear so many horror stories of parents going directly to the district office over a child not making an athletic team.
Oh, yeah.
Parents, get a grip. You are setting your child, now I'm judging you, because you're setting your child up for failure in the future, because they're never going to be able to do anything for themselves, because you're going to it's not even advocacy at that point. You're going to scare people into giving your child what they want.
I'm going to throw a tantrum because I want what I want. I want it.
And Mrs. T didn't give my child Mary Poppins.
Right.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
happened before, and I go, but do you want me to educate your child for the real world and the things they're going to encounter? Or do you want me to educate them that they think they're always going to be the best, nothing's ever going to go wrong? And we're not, forget the standards.
Yeah.
I'm not helping them become a person who's ready to go out into the world.
Yeah.
If I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm the teacher or the parent throwing a tantrum, what is the message I'm sending to my child or to my student that it's okay to do that?
Also, for the teachers, you are an adult, right? You are an adult. But I remember, especially when Instagram started picking up and people started following me, my friends would get so annoyed because if we were out at happy hour or something like this, I'd be like, okay, no, you can't put your drink in. Like, now we're not standing on bars, Coyote Ugly style. We are literally grown adults over.
Love that movie.
The teachers do this on a front. Like,
we do have lives,
but we don't need to be promoting this in a way. Also, there's a close friends feature on Instagram. So if you really feel the need that you need to do that, like I know if I'm at one of my best friend's weddings, I'm not going to post that for my whole Instagram to see because you are in a different environment than you were there. Like, we are still adults. You can do what you want, but it is not, there's a time and a place and an audience, I think, for everything.
Yes.
And just being aware of that, not using an excuse as, oh, well, I'm a grown adult, I can do this. Yeah, be mindful of be demure, be mindful,
Very true.
Yeah.
But not everything needs to be on social media.
No, it really does not.
Like, wow.
And if you want to share with your friends, text it to your friends. If you really feel the need that you need to share whatever you're doing that bad, just live in the moment, number one. But number two, just send it to the people that you trust.
Exactly. Yeah. I will always say I'm glad that I grew up in a time where social media was fame, but also started my education career.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where on the flip side of things, the pressure wasn't there for me to have social media, for me to post everything, because that's a whole slippery slope, obviously, as we're talking. So there's no perfect answer.
And and I think that's the point of this episode is really it's about having the dialogue.
Yes.
Nobody's going to have a perfect answer to this because we're a world of imperfect people. Mm-hmm. And so there's not going to be a perfect solution to this at all. But I think having the dialogue, and I think more importantly, opening that dialogue from a teacher to your parents.
Yes.
And as a community discussing, what the expectations, we've talked about this on podcasts before, but when I'm as a teacher, I'm asking parents, what are your expectations of me? How can I be a better teacher for your, and then vice versa, here's what I expect from you as a parent, or hopefully that parent is going to say, how can I be a better parent in this classroom, and it's that mutual understanding and respect. Just like I try to build a relationship with my husband, I have to assume the best of him the same way that I'm going to assume the best of those parents. And I think that that's where we have to keep the focus. I think so many people get tied up in society's expectations. Who cares about society's expectations? What I'm focused on is the kids in my classroom right now.
Yep.
And who are the people that impact their parents.
Their parents.
And that's where I want to keep my bubble of influence to be, the best that it can be for everyone involved in that scenario. I think we're going to have to let go of society because society is going to continue to highlight the negative. It's what sells. They're going to continue to amplify the bad. That's why I say I check the news. I don't listen to the news, meaning I check to see what is important, but I'm not going to sit and dwell on the stories and let their stories become a part of my narrative. Right. I'm gonna create my own narrative. If we hear too much negative, that's what we're gonna look for in education.
And I also
I think we have to be cautious.
A lot of the teachers who are also parents, speaking up to advocate that to other parents.
Yes.
I think a lot of times if you're
calling all parents,
literally, if you're a teacher parent, you often walk a fine line because your kids are having play dates with other parents. You hear all these different things of what's happening, but yet you're not advocating for, no, this is what this looks like, and using your voice to a way to really establish that kind of norm and narrative throughout. So speaking up, making that narrative, I'm very fortunate that I have never had any issue with a parent saying anything about who I am, what I do, because they know their kid is in the best possible spot. They see the results. They see their kids running home every day. I'm very grateful for that. And no matter what school I was, where I was, that I have that community of support for parents. But that started with other parents creating that narrative of, oh my gosh, you have Mr. That starts with a parent.
Well, just because in your classroom, you have prioritized the right thing.
Correct. Always.
Your kids over your personal choices.
Which seems easy, but for a lot of people, it's not.
Outside of that classroom, I fully believe teachers should have their own be able to live their personal lives, personal choices. and I'm not saying that their personal lives, don't even want to get DMs for this. I'm not saying our personalities do not come into the classroom or that we should have to hide those.
Yeah.
That is not what I'm saying by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying as a professional, when you're in that classroom, your priority is your kids and getting them to be successful,
Correct.
right? And I think to your point, that's why you haven't been questioned. That's why you haven't, because parents see, when they see you as a teacher,
Correct.
they see that your priority is your students.
Correct.
That is obvious to anyone versus, no, I'm going to do what I want to in this class.
Right.
I'm going to do what I want to in this class because I'm advocating for my personal
Right.
self.
No.
No, that's not your professional job. Your
Right.
professional job is to educate the students. In
Yeah.
your class. So again, I'm not saying, and I want to make that clear, I'm not saying that your personality should not be allowed
Oh,
in
of
your
course.
classroom, that you should have to hide who you are. I'm just saying our priority should be educating students. And if you're doing that, you're going to get results. And that's what's going to also lead to that.
And there are many parents that I've had of students pass that I'm now very good friends with and I keep up with on social media and things like that, that are, now we don't have that professional relationship because I don't have your child in my class.
Right.
Like at that time, I'm not going to talk to you or go out. Like I'm not.
Of course.
But now, 10 years later, your child is now off to college. Like we are the same age. Like reality is I am teaching a lot of parents that we are very similar in age.
Right.
Like we grew up in the same kind of environment.
Yeah.
I think that's also a big thing. A lot of school communities, they either went to high school with a lot of the parents,
Yeah.
that kind of gray line that there's already maybe a narrative established for them there.
Very
I remember at Midway, that is a very much community school.
yes.
A lot of teachers would be like, yeah, we went to this person's birthday party last week, or we went out for their 60th birthday. We got wild,
Totally.
like all these different things.
Yes.
But it's that at school, this is what we're here, and then personal life is personal.
Yeah.
And that kind of narrative there.
That teacher hat versus, Nikki T, one of my closest friends. I taught her daughter. Now she's one of my best friends. She knew Mrs. T very differently than Nikki T.
Correct.
And again, like you said, it doesn't mean my personality doesn't come out in every day and everything I do.
Yeah.
But when I'm in that world, I'm in that world.
And if we want to be
That's my
respected as professionals, which we
Yes.
do, like the narrative is not that in society, we have to be the ones to set that as teachers.
Would I want my doctor who is going to do my surgery tomorrow showing that they're out of the bar and hungover and drunk? And I mean, come on.
Literally.
Like,
Literally.
it is it's not just for teachers.
No.
We uphold this expectation of any professional,
Correct.
right, in their realm of professionalism for their career.
Values, man.
It is. So I know this is not a solution. This was never meant to be a solutions podcast. Because that's just, again, we've got to find our own solutions and what works for us. But I do think this will not be the last time that we have conversations surrounding this, because I think the more that we talk about it, the more we shed light on it, the more we challenge thinking and challenge perceptions on it. I think that's what's important, is the conversation that impacts classrooms. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to those classrooms, our priority has to be those students. It has to be the kids. So
For sure. Well, Nikki, we always love having you on the Flip Side Couch.
Thank you.
We love when our guests are not short for words. So we already knew going into it. Like,
So
it's gonna be-
fun.
and it does be. I love that. So go ahead and let everyone know where they can follow you for more things, Nikki OT.
Yeah, I am on social media at Integrate and Educate. And I love connecting with teachers and parents, to just keep the narrative going. That's what we need in this world, especially when it comes to education.
if it's never talked about, there can never be solutions put in place. So
Absolutely.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of The Flip Side. New episodes launch every Monday on YouTube. You can watch live in the studio or listen on your way to work, on the way home, in the car. A lot of people have also said that their kids also listen to some of these things. That maybe this long for them. I should have I just thought about that. But they repeat some of the things we say in a cute, fun way. So maybe not this one, but we'll see. But make sure you listen every Monday. You can also follow on social media to get some behind-the-scenes content of everything going on. But until then, we will catch you on The Flip Side.
bye guys.